Before we begin, listen carefully. This is not a legend, not a campfire story, and not something invented to scare you. Every place keeps a record of what happens there. Some keep it in history books, some keep it in ruins, and some places keep it moving. The Fox River runs quietly through Wisconsin, through cities, past old mills, along paths people walk every day without thinking twice. But at night, especially when the fog comes in low and fast, the river changes. Locals won't say this directly, but they'll hint at it. People go missing. Footsteps get heard where no one should be, and reflections appear where bodies don't belong. What you're about to hear is stitched together from witness accounts, local reports, and patterns people only notice after something follows them home. If you've ever walked alone at night near water, keep listening. Just don't turn around. If you grow up near the Fox River, you learn early which questions not to ask. People will tell you about the paper mills, the dams, the history. What they won't talk about is why no one swims after dark, even in summer, or why joggers remove one earbud when they pass certain bends of the path, or why fishermen leave without their gear when the fog rolls in too fast. The Fox River doesn't roar, it waits. At night, the water changes its sound. Not louder, just intentional, as if it's keeping time with something unseen. There's an old belief among mill workers that the river remembers every body that ever went into it. Accidents, suicides, people who slipped and were never found. Not as numbers, as shapes. And sometimes, when the river gets lonely, it practices walking like us. Evan Carter had worked security for 6 years. Graveyard shifts, empty buildings, no imagination left. His route followed an abandoned paper mill section just south of Appleton. Cracked concrete, rusted rails, a river path that technically closed at sunset but never locked. At 2:13 a.m., Evan heard footsteps ahead of him. That was wrong. Security routes are designed so you never catch up to another guard, and Evan knew every animal sound out there. These weren't animals. One step. Pause. One step. Pause. The pace matched his breathing. He stopped walking. The footsteps stopped too. That's when the river changed. The water began hitting the embankment in a steady, hollow rhythm. Not splashing. Pressing. Evan turned his flashlight toward the path. Nothing. But when he glanced at the river, he saw a reflection that didn't belong to him. It was standing too straight. The reflection looked human, barely. Long limbs, narrow shoulders. Its face was distorted, like it had learned expressions from memory, not experience. When Evan shifted, the reflection shifted first, not mirroring him, leading him. He stepped back. The reflection stepped forward. His radio crackled without being touched. "Don't stop walking." The voice wasn't dispatch. It wasn't anyone he knew. It sounded soaked. Evan ran. Later, police would review the footage and see something Evan never noticed in the moment. As he fled, wet footprints appeared behind him. No legs, no body, each one landing exactly where Evan's foot had been a second earlier. Practicing. Learning. Evan wasn't the first. In the 1980s, a night fisherman reported someone standing knee-deep in the Fox, staring upstream for hours. When approached, the figure turned, and its face collapsed inward like wet paper. In 1999, a jogger vanished along a fog-heavy bend. Only his shoes were found, neatly placed side by side at the water's edge. In 2016, a teenager filming the river at night caught audio he didn't notice until later. Footsteps that weren't his, pacing him, breathing when he breathed. The fox doesn't drag people under. It waits for them to stop moving. Old mill workers believe the river learned us slowly. First, it copies sound, then rhythm, then posture. But it can't copy faces unless you give it one. That's why locals say, if you hear footsteps matching yours along the Fox at night, never turn around. Because the moment you acknowledge it, the river knows which shape to keep. Years after Evan quit, a motion camera was installed near the same stretch. At 2:13 a.m., it activates. The footage shows an empty path. Then, barely visible in the fog, a human shape walking beside the river. Its reflection moves first. If this story followed you longer than you expected, you're not alone. There are more places like this. More rivers that remember. More footsteps that don't belong to anyone you can see. If you want to hear the rest of what the Fox River keeps, like this story, subscribe, and stay with me. Because some stories don't end when the video does. More is coming.